Raja, first, thank you very much for the time. Excited for the discussion today.
Likewise, thank you very much.
So I want to start in an area that, I think is very important, and we talk a lot about this at Razorfish, but is loyalty. And traditionally, in our industry, when we talk about loyalty, we talk about it in the context of consumers being loyal to brands. But you have a point of view around this on it's more about how our brands loyal to their consumers. Can you talk about how having that perspective is beneficial when it comes to creating engagement?
So first thing I think is understanding the truth is very critical on which you build your whole strategic framework. If you start on some myth and assume it to be a truth, and you build your platforms and strategy and everything around it, it's going to be a waste of money. Now, loyalty, I didn't expect we'll start on this note. So you started rather controversially, so thank you very much for that. I have to sit up and wake up. So the point is, loyalty is a complete myth. It was coincidental when I was writing my book, I came across an article on BBC.com, which is not the most credible source for information of this sorts. And it said that they have done a survey amongst people who are in a relationship, whether married or live-in relationship, and asked them, how many of you have cheated in the last 12 months? And there was an astonishing response of 70%. And further, 15% more people said that if I'm sure I will not get caught, I don't mind cheating. So you talk of 85% of the people. I said this is either people are exaggerating, or I would have actually thought that even if somebody is cheating, they would not admit to it in a market research. I commissioned my own research. 26 countries, I paid my money from my pocket. And I was very maniacal about the methodology and everything else. And I was stunned to see the numbers were in that range. So I said, okay, I'm not here to make any value judgment, but if you were to think about the concept, if 85% of the people are not hardwired for loyalty, and they know the consequences. Firstly, when they're in a relationship, they made a commitment, till death do us part, or their mantras, or there is a ritual, whatever, if it is a marriage, if it is a living relationship, it's an implicit commitment. So there is a commitment made, and they are aware of the consequences, either financial damage, reputational damage, or emotional damage to the people they care about. Still, people are straying. So I said, now we come as marketers and as businesses and say, you know what? I'll give you 1 mile for every dollar you spend, and thou shalt be loyal to my brand. I think it's the biggest stupidity. And as a result of which, what we brand as loyalty programs are not really loyalty programs. They are just a value that you are giving in some form post facto. It's not even instant gratification. If you look at it as a value provision, you would also understand the fact that instant gratification has a much better impact than a delayed gratification. And in many cases, if you acquire points that are not even good enough to get one meaningful redemption out of those, the program is wasted. Now, if you look at myself, I got American Airlines, I got United Airlines, I got Delta, and I got Emirates Airlines. I got 4 loyalty programs. Who am I loyal to? I'm not. So I think that's why marketing has to really think about how the concept of engagement is critical. The concept of consumer stickiness is critical. But we need to understand it is about creating a preference in consumers' mind at every point of interaction, as opposed to running these vague loyalty programs and expecting that people will be loyal to your brand.
Really starting with the tough topics there.
Indeed, you did.
So we think about that in terms of truth and trust, and how brands can be building trust with their consumers, especially in a world where nobody's loyal. What are the things that brands can be adding as positives into an experience that builds that trust as opposed to putting it at risk after working so hard to earn even a little bit of it?
You know, I think that is actually where the future is going to. Consumers do not know what to trust in this day and age of deep fakes, of political divides. For example, if you look at media, nobody trusts media today. The same exact incident is interpreted one way by CNN and diametrically opposite by Fox or somebody else. Now, who do I trust? Therefore, what do? I now look at BBC. Hopefully they are distant and therefore they give a more objective kind of a thing, or I go to NPR or whatever. But the point is, you cannot trust media, you don't have trust on politicians, you don't have trust on businesses because you think, and justifiably so, that businesses are exploiting you. So when there is such a trust deficit all around you, the brand which will win is the brand that will build trust. Now, to build this trust, there are a few tenets. So the first is transparency. Now, today, for example, right from there is an explicit transparency and an implicit transparency. And when I say explicit, like take an example. When I buy some of these, cosmetics for my wife, she gives me the shopping list, can you get it? The box, the outer packaging is this big. You open the cardboard, the inner packaging is this big. When you break open that, actually there is a bottle inside a bottle, and there is a unique technology of how the damn packaging is done. So you get this much of cosmetic. I said, for this I'm paying $90? Every time. And that's ridiculous, right? There is a dishonesty in packaging. And we try to pass it off as saying that, oh, no, this is aesthetic presentation. It is not. You can show the reality and still be aesthetic. This is one. Likewise, if you look at the terms and conditions that you have got, did you know how many apps that you signed for actually get permission, even on iPhone, even on Android, if you see, asking permission for access to your financial information. These services have nothing to do with financial services, but still they ask you. They know, they're confident that nobody is going to read all that nonsense, which runs into pages and pages and printed at this level of font size 0.1, regardless of what point size it is. They know that it's not read. So you're taking consumers for granted and you're asking them to sign their lives off. You're selling consumers' data without their consent. So I think the fact is you have to first and foremost have a good behavior. Look at yourself as to how you would like to be treated as a consumer, then put on your brand hat or your marketing hat and say, this is how I'm going to treat. And then you actually make those actions be visible to the consumers, that they are genuine, they're truthful. It is not just an empty posturing and positioning that you're doing. That's how you actually go about it at one level. One last thing I would also say is that it's always been proven time and again that when you are doing as a brand something beyond your own profits, something which is good for the society, it matters. You should do it not for political correctness or for sound bites for your CEO or your CMO to come and talk at forums like this and use those sound bites, but very genuinely and authentically that we are doing something good and let the actions speak. It's a long journey. You don't win trust overnight. You can break trust overnight, but you win trust over years and years, and that's exactly what we have to do.
I think that's great. You can't win trust overnight, but you can lose it overnight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think as you think about building that relationship and building that trust, understanding our consumers is also paramount.
Correct.
And we think in our industry, we often come up with segments which are, age or region or household income, those types of things. But at Mastercard, you've taken a different approach to thinking about segments with something called passion segmentation.
Correct.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that approach?
Yeah, so first thing is, there are 2 points here I want to quickly touch upon. One is insights, right? The way we collect insights today is scarily bad. What happens is you go and ask people to tell why they have done something, why they like certain things or whatever it is. We forget the fact that all the decisions that people take are subconscious, they are not conscious. So when you ask somebody, why did you buy this? They give you a post-rationalized response because they're not psychoanalysts themselves. That's one. Second, if you look at the fundamental foundations of how market research is done, I don't know how many of you have looked at the questionnaires and how you have seen people answer them. You say, my God, this is what I'm spending my money on. It is garbage in, garbage out. And I have seen questionnaires come to me, 120 questions from reputed automobile companies. I bought a car a few months back, and then they said, now you're a buyer of this kind of a car. Now you please answer this, and we'll give you a princely sum of $25 as your reward. And 120 questions. And I said, you guys are serious? And what would I do? I, just for the heck of it, just to spite, I asked my son, fill whatever crap you want to go. And you'll get $25. He happily did it in 2 minutes, and we were done. So this is a problem in terms of insights. Segmentation, grouping of people for efficacy of product development and communication is critical. That's absolutely necessary. So segmentation is important. Again, the traditional ways of segmentation are a little messed up. Demographic segmentation assumes that your demographics have an impact on your behavior. They do not. Same thing, psychographic segmentation. Psychographic segmentation looks great on paper, but it is totally impractical when you want to go and execute it. So what we did was we said, okay, what is the then way we can group people, because you cannot throw everything at everyone. You have to be obviously focused that this is a group of people to whom this is more appealing, this is another group of people to whom something else is appealing. So from that point of view, we came up with something, what we call as passion-based approach, which is, what do you care about deeply? That's what you're passionate about. If you deeply care about music, okay, I don't care whether you're 70 years old or 17 years old. I will just go with music if that is what your primary passion is. For somebody else, if it is philanthropy, I'll go into the philanthropy space. And you don't have to belong to only one of these segmentation variables. You can be actually in 6 different segments, which means I'm hitting you 6 times. And therefore, I have to be careful of deduplicating and not overloading you with my communication. So we looked at 10 passion points. There are a lot many more passions, but 10 is what we found in our context most relevant to our business. So it's music, sports, philanthropy, shopping, travel, movies, arts and culture, environment and sustainability, and I have missed out one. I don't know what it is. So these are the 10 which are there, and we go based on these, and we curate experiences that money cannot buy, but you can get them only with Mastercard. That's how we approach it. And it's working brilliantly for us.
I love bringing that, you think about passions. I would take that also back to trust, and you think about real experiences and as a real way to create meaningful connection with consumers. And I know we're a bit short on time, and we are at CES, but it's only Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday.
So when you think about what you're hoping to see out of this CES in a way that connects back to Mastercard's ability to create those meaningful experiences, are you excited or anticipating seeing something out there at the show?
See, having been coming to CES for the last few years, I don't expect any dramatic breakthrough that will be coming in here, right? But what I really look for are 3 things. Number 1, today morning I had already 2 recruitment interviews done. So everyone that you want to meet, they are here. So you can actually try to hire them if you have an opening. So that's one good thing. And that so far has been productive today. The second one is I go to their innovation section. It is not specific to anything to do with marketing, but the new kind of products and services that are products mostly coming around. And I always find that there is something inspiring in it that I can probably connect the dots to what we do. And maybe there is an application out there kind of a thing. That's number 2. The third one is I'm personally passionate about healthcare. And in healthcare, there are a lot of advancements, and they display a number of interesting devices. And I'm endlessly fascinated by those, and I spend some amount of time there too. This is what I'm looking for.
So thinking about healthcare or in health tech, I'm just curious for a perspective, taking that more broadly. Last year, I felt like we saw a lot of, at least AI getting slapped onto products. What do you expect to see from like AI shifts as we come into this year versus the past?
See, last year it was all Gen AI. Yeah. This year it's all agentic AI. Even in healthcare, right? So for example, I have seen apps, not at CES, but outside, where from appointment setting to report reading to giving you, follow-ups on your billings, where you have not paid the money yet to your doctor for your copay or whatever, to radiology, reading your x-rays and reports, and giving you nutritional recommendations. There are agents that are happening for every one of these, and there is an agent of agents, which means you got a super agent and they got sub-agents. And these fellows together actually do everything that you would want to do. And it's scary, actually. I had done this real life test, right? Before the winter vacation, I was actually having chest congestion and a cough and cold and all that. Normally, I would go to the doctor. So then what I did is I described to the, what you call AI engine. I said, these are the symptoms I have. And ask me questions so that you're able to give me a credible recommendation. It asked me 20 questions which my doctor would not ask me. I gave answers very patiently to each one of them. Then it gave me a recommendation, which was extremely sensible. After that, I went to my doctor. It felt lame. The experience with the doctor was so lame, I said, no. And then I started quoting him from what this one has said, and he felt very awkward.
Nice.
So it is extraordinary how the change is happening in our own lifetime at such a short notice. I think this year it's going to be the year of the agents, or agentic AI, and it's pretty fascinating. It's scaring at one level because it does have significant implications to manpower and employment for people, but you can't stop it. It's moving fast.
I think it's great. I think it's great counsel. One, coming back to what you said a little earlier, was inspiration. So use the opportunity to be going around, get inspired, connect with people who are here, and then keep an eye out for agentic AI and the implications for us. And I think last thing I would say is ask would be consumer receptivity to AI. You know, obviously, as you said, Gen AI kind of big focus last year, evolution of that into agentic AI this year. How do you feel like the consumer headspace and receptivity to AI has evolved?
See, I think if you talk about AI to consumers, the vast majority of them will go above their heads. But they don't need to understand AI. They need to experience the outcomes of the AI. That's what matters the most, right? Today, for example, if I would go and ask, say, an elderly uncle of mine and say, do you know how electricity works? They don't care, they don't understand. But they know if they switch the light on, the switch on, they will see the light on, or the fan will start running. That's what is important for them. So they need to know just how to use, in a highly simplified user interface, how to use something. Like, for example, and I wish my dad was alive now, he is not, but he was an avid reader. And right now, the kind of things that are there on Notebook LM, if you have seen, right? And the podcast is created, feed in some book, and then it gives you the nice podcast stuff, and the dialogue between them is more meaningful to me many times than actually reading the book. And you ask questions and they get the answers about the book and some points you might have missed, or you have got a different perspective. It's so fascinating. And if you're into that kind of into reading books and listening to podcasts, my God, this is heaven. Yes. Absolutely, it's brilliant. So, I don't need to know how exactly LLM works as a normal consumer. But as a marketer, you better know. But as an ordinary consumer, how does LLM work, and what is exactly, what is agentic AI, what is Gen AI, what is ordinary AI, what is AGI? You don't care a damn about it. You know that this device will work for me. I can ask questions, I'll get answers. I'll give instructions, the instructions get executed. I say, hey, tell my cousin that I'm feeling good, send an email. It does email. Then I don't even have to know how to get into my Gmail, remember my password, reset the password. I don't have to do any of that stuff. That is such a sheer joy from a consumer experience point of view.
I think it's great counsel as well for any brands here. It's not about talking about the AI, it's about talking about the benefit.
Exactly.
How's it going to help the consumer?
Absolutely.
On that note, Raja, I think we're a little bit over time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.